Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now today's video is going to be all about the OnePlus 11 that I've been using for the past 2 weeks now. Just to let you know before I begin this video, I've actually been using the OnePlus 10T for quite some time, ever since its launch. And I know previously that a lot of people weren't satisfied with the performance, with what OnePlus is offering with the 10T. I was not one of them. I was actually very happy with the 10T here, and I felt that this was one of my favorite devices of 2022. Anyway, with the OnePlus 11, we're here to find out what's new, what's changed, and whether it can win your love back. Just because it has a slider on the side doesn't mean it's really fully OnePlus again, right? But you let me know about this device. Well, I want to start off first and foremost actually in fact about the cameras at the back. Now you can see here we have this very clear Hasselblad branding at the back, and if you are still living under a rock, you might not be aware that it's supposed to produce pictures that look more natural, pictures that don't look oversaturated, basically things that look a little bit more true to life. So we don't care about the megapixels on the back here. I can always just put in a spec sheet down below, but we're going to talk a bit about the performance of these cameras. And for this particular comparison, I actually brought along the Vivo X90 because it also has that Carl Zeiss branding at the back, and you, again, I believe already know that Carl Zeiss here basically says that they are also trying to help Vivo tune the most true to life kind of colors. So let's see who is really more true to life. Right, so for this particular test, I actually took these devices to the car showroom. I tried to take pictures of items in red, objects in green, and of course objects in blue, so we can see the real difference between these colors. And guess what? I was actually quite surprised, but I have to honestly tell you that the pictures show that the color balance, the white balance on both devices are actually very similar. In terms of the greens, we can see on this particular car right here, they are almost 1-to-1 from the Hasselblad as well as Zeiss on Vivo. I was actually quite surprised to see that here. But as we move to the red car, we can see that it is a little bit more saturated on the OnePlus device, but I did notice that OnePlus was able to produce images that were able to show better shadows. That means you can see more of the object in the picture itself. It's not just correct colors, but it's also more of the objects. Now when I move on to the blues, I noticed that on the Vivo here, it tend to sort of like overexpose the car itself. I'm not sure why, but whereas on the OnePlus, it was actually able to produce proper blues and very nicely laid out colors. So I think just in terms of color accuracy, both devices here have proved that they are able to produce pictures that look very true to life. But in terms of exposing the picture correctly, I think the OnePlus 11 here did a better job. Alright, so let's move on about the cameras here. Let's talk a bit about what more is Hasselblad really offering to OnePlus 11. Well, we still have the expand mode, guys. I'm not sure if you actually really dig into the settings. You actually have to go into the more options and then you click expand, and this brings you into this sort of like panorama kind of experience, which actually mimics that of an actual Hasselblad camera. So anyway, long story short, it's able to take some pretty cool film-like pictures. So I took this out to the streets. I took a lot of black and white pictures. Guys, I was really impressed with the kind of quality of the images that I could get on the OnePlus 11. I think if you are a street photographer and you like to shoot in black and white or even in color, you will really appreciate the kind of content, the kind of quality content that you can get from the OnePlus 11 and its expand mode. The panorama looks amazing here, guys. Alright, so I think the third component of the cameras that I want to talk about here is actually in terms of the night mode. Now naturally, I brought this out at night as well to take pictures of the city at night, and one fine night I actually brought this together along with my Samsung S23 Ultra. Now that device is supposed to be way more expensive than this particular OnePlus 11. I noticed that the OnePlus 11 was actually keeping up with the Samsung S23 Ultra in terms of noise suppression, in terms of the details, and of course in terms of brightening the image correctly. I think the OnePlus 11 here is doing a great job at those night shots. So overall, previously a lot of people have been disappointed with the cameras of OnePlus devices, but I think on this OnePlus 11 you will actually be fairly happy here. Alright, so that's the deal with the cameras at the back. Now let's talk about the second thing here in terms of the user experience, and that is all about OxygenOS. Now I know a lot of you out there are aware that OxygenOS and ColorOS is looking more and more alike, and honestly speaking, I don't think that is a hugely bad thing. The reason why I say that is because I particularly am quite fond of ColorOS. I find that it is very clean, it has minimal bloat, and the way those customizations work for me, as well as these icons, how everything is laid out very beautifully and minimalist, is something that worked for me really well. Now I know this is a subjective matter and everyone has their own choice of operating systems, but I do think that what OnePlus is doing here with the OnePlus 11 is actually pretty good. Now my only complaint about OxygenOS here is one really weird bug, and I noticed that whenever I'm in the gallery, for example, the screen's refresh rate drops to 60. It will not allow you to browse in 120 Hz, which I think is quite a shame because it feels a bit laggy throughout the entire gallery, and I found that this is the case for a couple of native apps. So for instance, if I go into the weather app as well, this is also running at 60 Hz. It is not 120 Hz. It means that you don't get those buttery smooth kind of experience in this particular device, and I think that is quite a shame. So I also noticed the same issue on the OnePlus 10T, but funny enough, it was not an issue on my Oppo devices that was running ColorOS. Everything looks the same, it's just that the Oppo runs at 120 Hz. So again, I do hope that OnePlus fixes this slow refresh rate happening with their native apps, because it just makes the experience not as smooth as I wish to. Now, in terms of the processor power and all that, naturally you do get a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 in here. It is the latest models. In terms of your RAM, you get up to 16 GB of RAM, 256 GB of internal memory. Personally, in terms of performance, I wouldn't say that it is marginally way better than the OnePlus 10T over there. It is good performance. Of course, it's using the latest processors and everything like that. That means you can play your games at the highest graphics. You won't face any kind of lags whatsoever on the device itself. Launching applications is going to be very fast, but again, I would say that in terms of processor wise, we are already almost at the peak now. Previously we had the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, and when we came over to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, I did not feel like it was a massive jump, but I do appreciate the fact that it's running the latest processors just for future proofing. So in terms of just using it on a daily, no issues there whatsoever. Alright, so let's move on and talk a bit about the battery life. Now, battery life on this device is actually quite alright. I wouldn't say that it's great, and that's probably because I actually use the always on display. I noticed that my battery starts from 100% at 9 AM in the morning. By the time it's 6 PM or 7 PM, it's down to 20 to 30%. That means that I have to charge it at home, and once I get home, to get it back up to juice again. So that is something about the battery life. I did wish that it was a bit better. I did wish that it was able to last all the way till at night, 8, 9 PM, but I guess that's because of my always on display. It really depends on how you use your phone. The charging speed itself is actually very fast. We still have that 100-watt super VOOC charging that charges this device up very quickly, so no issues with the charging. Now, overall, what do I really think about the OnePlus 11? I think this is a great effort by OnePlus. I still have to emphasize on these cameras at the back here. They are actually really good. The Hasselblad branding, once again, might be the last time you see it on a OnePlus device. I don't know about the future, but that's just my personal thought. If you are looking for a OnePlus device here with a great set of cameras, proper OxygenOS, very clean OS. Of course, some of you missed that slider at the side. It's back for good. Then I think you should strongly check out the OnePlus 11. There are so many phones in the market today, and every phone suits a different kind of person. There's no right or wrong answer here anyway, but I personally, am very fond of this device. With that said, if you have any further questions, please leave a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed today's very quick video, and don't forget to drop a like, sub to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Stay safe, everybody. Bye.